some things in feng shui are like directly aligned with which pleases the father in a way that's like super logical, that like totally makes sense, but it's like not as always easy to see, right? So, for example, like in terms of like health parenting, give yourself in skincare, like signs will tell you make sure you remove your makeup before you go to bed, blah 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 blah. So like that's the signs of it, but like in a more literal way, like on a soul level, when you're trying to make choices in your life, I like to make sure, you know what I mean, like I'm being mindful of that idea, like the father and what he would want, like when you remove your makeup at night, to make sure you take care of your skin. People do it so it doesn't, mess their eyes or give them like wrinkles and stuff. But in a very like straightforward type of way, if you remove it, like it's literally lighter off your face, which is why it like gives you wrinkles, because it's like this heaviness on your face, and it's not really intended to be on your skin overnight and whatnot. So you literally remove it to, please the father, and not remove it so you don't get wrinkles or whatever. And like in theory, you might, night skin will look better because you're thinking more appropriately. That's in a more literal line, which is kind of cool and excited. I think that's a fun thing with skincare, and to think that we as a culture are moving past this toxicity with health and beauty, and we're recognizing like everyone is individual, and it's a good thing to get wrinkles. Chelsea Handler does a lot of conversation about this on her TikTok. She talks a lot about just like, yeah, I don't want to look like a baby, you know what I mean? It's like, it's good to celebrate life, you know what I mean? So it's a lot of it's very spiritual to the father, what he intended for us. Like if you get like male pattern baldness or whatever science would call it, or maybe you're a female that gets facial hair, there's spiritual ties to this about messages to the world, and like what's intended to be thought of, or maybe there's something going on to bring awareness to, that this person might need more rest or more piano in their life. They might literally just be bearing this negative side effects of not getting enough social time with other women their own age, and not having enough community. You never really know. Sometimes these things bring up way deeper meanings that we're not even necessarily consciously aware of. Like you see this one TikTok, I think Trevor Noah covered it, maybe it wasn't him, but they're on a plane, and this mom with her kid, and this older woman's she said something that's like deep down, that could be like this loneliness that she possesses, that's like accidentally reaching out at this because there's a child involved. And it wasn't really like she was being aggressive, but sometimes you wonder if like there's another thing going on a spiritual sense, that pleases the father to recognize. Like you see these people in courts, and sometimes it's their voices that need to be heard, or it brings awareness to the fact that they were going out struggling, and they needed, like these kids that turned into criminals, some of them just needed attention, and needed the opportunity to have normal things to live as intended. They're just more sensitive in nature, and bad things happened, but it's kind of weird, because you really want to think about how much calm there would even be when there's so many good-hearted people out there. So how do we not put it into it? You see some of this really maddening stuff, and as someone who grew up around comfortable, you see the look in these people's eyes. It's hard to talk about when it's making very uncomfortable, but some people, they adjust. Like if you've never really seen like a certain ethnicity in real life, you might be kind of excited. You might be like, exquisite, I don't really know how to respond. Oh yeah, that's unique, that's different. And this is a real thing, because some people, they grew up in a culture where there was only like people just like them. They didn't grow up around Asians, and whatnot. I grew up, and I remember in my day and age, there was a couple Asians, and it was kind of like, oh, you better make sure you're likable and whatnot. And I think there was only one of them. I don't think their parents had multiple children, either one of them, but everybody liked them. And it's kind of like, let's let that social pressure off, or whatever, Jesus. So that's at the end of that. No one even cares if anybody's Asian or whatever, but it's heavy. It's heavy in the culture still. Like so many people. But anyway, when you're living as intended, without fear of that, if you fear the Father and you believe in His angels and His plan, the more we talk about Jesus, I think the better off we're on.